Yet another Wednesday evening. That means it's time for another Auburn Family Nights, the live stream where you matter the most, the Auburn family. We're going to get into your comments, your questions, and your calls all here for the next hour. Let's jump into it right now. War Eagle Auburn family, War Eagle E2C Network family, thank you so much for joining us. Whether you're watching live, whether you're watching on the replay, however you got here, through YouTube, through Facebook, through other means out there, we don't care how you got here. We're just happy that you're here. You can start off in a great way by helping us out with this live stream, letting people know that it's out there. Smash the like button if you feel like we earned that from you, from our loyal viewers and followers out there. That is a huge help if you can remember to do that. If you're new here, obviously take some time to think if we've earned that like button. But the easiest thing that you could do, even more than that, I guess smashing the like button is pretty easy. You can go ahead and post where you're watching from, your city, state. If you're international, do that as well. All of that you can do, help us know who's here hanging out with us on your show. As I said, this is all about you, by you, for your comments, your questions, and your calls. We'll be opening up the phone lines in just a little bit. So as you start to decide to call in and maybe get in the queue line, just waiting there patiently, and we'll get to you as soon as we can. Let me set the table, as I always like to say, for us on a Wednesday night. Anything goes here. What do you want to discuss? I would imagine it is still very Auburn football heavy, although there are a few other things that are starting to kind of gear up and get interesting, basketball being one of those things. It's a bye week, so it's one of those times where we all just like take a step back and just breathe for a little bit. To me, it feels like the bye week has come a little bit earlier than normally would have. Does anybody else feel that way? To me, it feels like it's been a little bit, uh, quicker getting here. I know it's 5 games into the season, so that to me is a pretty quick number. It usually feels like it's around like 7 or 8 or something like that. Maybe the back middle of October. This is the very beginning of October. What can you do, right? They set the schedule way out in advance and decide it then. So we just kind of have to play who we can play, when we can play them, all that kind of stuff. So those are some of the things that we can discuss tonight. The phone lines are open, as I said. Just hang in there. If you are getting in the queue line, we'll bring it in as soon as we can do that. It's always brought to you by our friends, if I can find the thing here, by our friends at allthingsauburn.net. Please do visit them. Check them out for a place that you can stay at Auburn when you're visiting the loveliest village on the plains. But Miss Tanya over there is one of the best Auburn people I know. You need to get with her to have not just a place to stay at Auburn, but a place to have a great Auburn experience. They bring you the phone line every single Wednesday night. All right. So saw a couple people checking in. I think Kevin's here. Devin's here. John, good to see you. Devin says, War Eagle E2C family, excited for the guys to have a bye week. They definitely need it and deserve it. But I will miss seeing them play this Saturday. I feel like it's coming at the perfect time. I feel like that's what we say every year, and every year it's true. There's always some situation that's going on, good or bad. They're like, oh, we just need a breather from it. I mean, think about it. For the last 5 weeks, we have been on wondering what is going to happen in that week in football, what needs to be fixed. There have been highs, there have been really lows, everything in between. And there have been some surprises too. So that's a very full 5 weeks when it comes to the weeks leading up to this particular bye week. So yes, you are correct that it could have come at the perfect time, especially when you consider some of the injuries that are mounting up for the Tigers. Obviously, we found out today that Messiah Nasili Kite, who I believe is a senior, can't remember off the top of my head, will be out for the year now. So with another indefinitely being Austin Keys, indefinitely being, help me, I'm drowning here. Keontae Scott, I think that's the right one. We lost to Mario Talana at the end of the year. There's been people just been banged up. It is definitely a time to heal. as John points out here, it is definitely very much needed for this team overall. So obviously we can dive into a few things there and see what you guys particularly think. Let me take another comment here and then we'll get our first caller in tonight. Devin asks, Kyle, talk to us about your thoughts on the Under Armour situation. Can you give me a little bit specifics? Which is just an overall discussion about it, or is there a specific thing that has transpired that I'm not aware of? Are you wondering simply because we're in that window of they can now negotiate with people other than Under Armour? Clint's been the Auburn Uniform Database has been covering that in some great detail. What are my thoughts on the Under Armour situation? My thoughts on Under Armour and whether it has a future at Auburn has remained the same. Personally, I'm a big fan of Auburn being with Under Armour. I think it's a big enough brand and it is different enough that it sets itself apart from some of its major competitors, namely Georgia and Alabama. South Carolina, I think, is the only other SEC school. There's a lot of separation there. So it's definitely something that Auburn kind of has the runway with if they can find a way to make it work for them long term, and if the company is viable. Now, I think they just re-upped with Notre Dame this year, and I could be wrong. There was somebody they've been losing a lot of clients, college clients, but they've also kind of secured a couple of their bigger names, which is pretty interesting. Shows me that there's some longevity there that I think some were hoping that's not there. Look, especially the people that love to post in the comments, which we're thankful you do, but I'm going to address them after the fact. Love to, I say, shout in the comments about, oh, Under Armour sucks. Well, I mean, everybody's got their opinions and they all stink. To me, I think Under Armour sets Auburn apart in more ways than one, and I would love for it to continue. Is it the best thing that's for Auburn? I'm not paid to make those big bucks, or I'm not paid the big bucks to make those decisions. So obviously my opinion doesn't matter, but a hill of beans. Apparently the founder of the company came to try and talk to John Cohen, I think, but he refused the meeting or just said they are taking the time or something like that. Where would you be getting that information, Devin? To me, that sounds like I don't know. That sounds like message board material, but I do know that the founder came to Auburn, so I would assume that he would meet with all the powers that be. He was taken around the football facility. There were pictures of this, very out there in the open, and to me, you get to meet who the big players when you're there, if you're going to make the trip over there. Did he refuse the meeting? It's very easy to take something that happens and put a word with it and spin it to fit the narrative that some want, because you got to realize that's what a lot of people want. There's a lot of people that are just crazily passionate to see Auburn and Under Armour part ways, which is fine. I want what's best for Auburn, but they will take any opportunity they can to make a meeting that did not work out to be a refuse. Now, that may have been the polite way of saying, nah, I'm good, bro. Sure. I think that option's on the table as well. But I think, to me, that just sounds like message board fodder that somebody is bored in the bye week. It probably has come out for the board the wide that discussed before the bye week. But to me, I wouldn't really put a lot of stock in that. I think Auburn has already decided whether or not they're going to continue with Under Armour. It's really now just who's going to give them the best deal and all that kind of stuff. So I think that's what's on the horizon there. Neil and Big Simp checking in. Good to see you guys. Thanks for hanging out with us tonight. All right, we're going to go ahead and take our first caller of the evening. We always need a little positivity in our life, and he brings it in tenfold. Evan, what's going on, sir? In the dark tonight.
War Eagle, Cal.
War Eagle, buddy. How are you doing?
I think we can go down to LSU, beat them.
I hope so. We have a little win streak going,
Yeah.
One of Brian Harson's few things that he did for us was in the losing streak at LSU. I heard someone else say, maybe it was on you were on this show, I can't remember, said that's really because of Bo. Well, it's fun and cutesy to not give credit to the coach, but the coach was the one that put him out there. So anyway, yes, hopefully we will beat LSU and make a little streak down in Baton Rouge. They don't look as mighty as they used to, don't you think?
Yeah, I think our running backs will do their job.
We definitely could use a continually increasing run game for this team right now that's trying to figure out itself in the passing game. Most of that comes in the form of the offensive line providing them running lanes, which they don't do up the middle very well, but they did all right on the outside. So hopefully you're right. I heard that we might get Damari back a little sooner. Did you hear that too?
No, I hope so.
Yeah. What the heck? My light just went out. Hang on, everybody. What is going on here? Let me see if I can fix this. We got a little bit of like.
I'm trying to find.
Let's try this one more time. What the heck just happened here?
Oh no, your lights went out.
I know. We might have to do the show in the dark here. Let's figure out what's going on here. Give me you keep talking. What's your next question? Kyle's going to do a little bit of figuring things out here on the fly. So what's your next question?
I think he will start Peyton Thorne next week too.
Yeah, I think Peyton Thorne is still your starting quarterback. He had a pretty decent game. When I say decent, I'm not saying like it was great, but like he did what he was supposed to do in the moment.
Yeah.
And I think he did exactly what the game plan had in store for him. Let's see if this fixes my problem real quick. Watch this. Bam. There we go. There you saw it live right now. Only on this show, I'm trying to get the lighting back to where I wanted it to be. There we go. Okay. Now, see, I could have stayed in the dark, though, Kevin, because then we'd both be in the dark.
Yeah.
I have to remember this is let me do this is hopefully Apple's not watching this. They probably are. This is one of their little wall things,
Yeah.
These things will go bad and they will make your equipment overheat. Like this thing is like I can hold it now, but when I took it off a second ago to figure out what was going on, it was burning hot. So when they go bad, be very careful. So I got to remember that one is a no-go from now on at this point. Anyway, I've eaten up a lot of your time with equipment malfunctions. What else is on your mind?
I think Javaris Johnson needs to step up.
Javaris Johnson needs to step up. Well, I would say it's bigger than just he needing to step up. I think the wide receiver room
Will Malcolm Johnson be able to play?
I don't know. I haven't heard. I don't know that I saw any commentary from Coach. I'll be honest with you. I missed the press conference today. So I didn't get an update personally on if he said he was going to be back.
I love the coach.
The wide receiver coach, or
talking about all the coaches.
All the coaches? Well, yeah, I love them too. They've only been here for a little bit of time, but obviously we've got some mainstays here: Zach Etheridge, Carnell Williams, and then Marcus Davis, who's back for the first time this year. But we know who he is. How
about that call? Go crazy, Cadillac.
Go crazy, Cadillac, man. I went crazy on that play, and yeah, that was a good time. And if you remember, here's the crazy thing about that. We're celebrating the kick six at the on the Iron Bowl this year. It's been 10 years, and we've been celebrating a lot of those big years for the last. It's like the 20th I'm getting the math wrong here, but we celebrate the 1983 season, the 1993 season. The 2003 season is not great, but that's when Go Crazy Cadillac happened. So thank you for bringing that up.
Hopefully we be at the Mississippi State game now.
You think you're coming to the Mississippi State game personally?
Yeah, I found some tickets on SeatGeek.
SeatGeek, yeah. Well, I need this to happen, Kevin, because I keep getting promised some Kevin time at Tiger Walk, and it hadn't happened yet. So at some point, this has got to happen.
We are trying.
I know. Listen, tickets are not cheap, and they are.
That'd be funny if I win the Iron Bowl tickets.
Where are you winning Iron Bowl tickets from? Are you in some kind of contest?
Yeah, from Huntsville, Alabama.
Okay, well let's all start crossing our fingers for Kevin here. Get him to the Iron Bowl, but hopefully we'll see you at the Mississippi State game. But last question or comment?
I'm looking forward to watching Auburn basketball November 7th.
Yep, that game time has been announced, and we are ready to watch some Shooty hoops ball, as they call it. Basketball, obviously, is my favorite sport, and I'm looking forward to that as well. So,
What did they do in the preseason scrimmage?
say that again.
How did they do in the preseason scrimmage?
I don't know that they've had an official preseason scrimmage yet, unless they're holding an inter squad, meaning it's closed practice. Like I don't know. I haven't been able to go or follow the practice schedule as of late because of my schedule.
Yeah.
But so I don't have any information on that. But last question or comment, what you got?
How about we get some pick sixes next weekend at LSU?
You don't think we hadn't had enough of those already? Well, we've had a lot of picks. Jalen Simpson is basically
Jalen Simpson will pick 2 off next week.
here's what I'll say about that prediction, Kevin. If there was ever a time for you to predict that and not be stepping out a bit, now is the time, because Jalen Simpson is the best defensive back interceptions wise in the country right now. So maybe that will hold to be true, and maybe he can create a little another LSU interception magic like it's been done in a previous game. So, Kevin, it's good to hear from you. Thanks for hanging out with us tonight.
War Eagle.
War Eagle, buddy. All right, you guys can call in too, just like Kevin did. Hit that. Well, this, I guess it's technically over in this way. I can't get my. There we go. Up there in the corner somewhere on YouTube, you can hit that link. If you're watching on Facebook or another outlet, you'll have to come over here. We'd love to hear some of your voices. You do not have to be on camera like he was. You can select I want to be on camera, off camera when you call in, and then we can just talk that way. But we'd love to see your smiling faces, just like Kevin's, each and every time. Sorry for that equipment malfunction. Like I said, be aware when these bricks go bad. I forgot. I knew I found an extra one somewhere, and yeah, I got a little bit scary there. I'm gonna be honest with you, because when I picked that thing, I was like, "Ooh, no wonder it turned itself off. It overheated." So be careful, my friends. Be very, very careful. That's why I don't get Apple products. Well, look, they made my life much easier. They're expensive. Not saying I agree with all the politics of, not that there's any company I agree with any of their politics really, but they get the job done for me, so I can't really give them too much flack. Neil says that this was earlier. LSU's defense is awful, but their defense is awful, but their offense is great. If that don't sound like the dichotomy of a bunch of teams this year, I don't know what is. There's not really a team that Georgia's probably the closest, and you saw how slow it took their offense to get going. That's solid across the board. Alabama's got some deficiencies. Ole Miss, LSU's got some deficiencies. Look, there's not a runaway favorite. It's still Georgia's conference to lose at this point, but I'm not super convinced what I see from them now that they're going to be able to run the table completely through the SEC, maybe just because nobody else is really standing. Now, Kentucky, this big Kentucky-Georgia matchup this week is going to be really, really intriguing. So I'm going to be watching that one super, super close. Corey points out earlier that the bye week is normally the 7th week. Is it like an official thing, Corey? Like you're saying that? Like I've never known it to be an official set week, but I do feel that it was typically a little later, and this being the 6th week, it's a little bit early. One thing that is certain, LSU won't get no 40 plus on RD. Well, you say that now. Defense looks great. They are racking up injuries nonstop, and even if it's not, I forget where Masili, it's actually Kiete, I think is how you officially pronounce it. He, I don't know where he fell in the depth chart, but I know he was being utilized, and that's going to hurt no matter where you play and what position. Neil thinks that we beat Arky and Mississippi State. I'm assuming that you are saying that we're going to beat Vanderbilt and New Mexico State, which makes us more than bowl eligible. Yeah, look, all Auburn's got to do is do what's expected against Vandy, New Mexico State, and get a Mississippi State, Arkansas, or Ole Miss win. Not writing off that Ole Miss game yet, although they do tend to scare me a little bit. Ole Miss, Mississippi State, and Arkansas wins. Oh, that'd be nice. There would be nothing better than for Auburn to now go on a little bit of a tear. Even if it was after LSU. And I would say I think it's very plausible that Auburn could be a threat to beat LSU in Baton Rouge, unless we had, but the problem is we haven't seen a really solid showing on the road from this team yet. And so history would tell you that the likelihood of there being a big turnaround on the road is not going to be that probable. I think that's a fair statement. I'm hoping that I'm wrong. Big Simp. I know the majority is Hunter, the starter running back, but I would love to see Battier. I do every time I see his name, I want to say Shane Battier, the basketball player. Starting, his vision is incredible. He looks for holes to hit, whereas Hunter is only looking for outside running. I don't know that I agree with that wholeheartedly, Big Simp. I think we are in it, what I'm reading into that your commentary there. I think you're basing a lot of what you're seeing this year and not thinking about the whole picture of him. Is he doing that more lately? Maybe. But I will still submit to you that he is just still, he's a lot less prepared. It's not the right word. He has a lot less reps than the other guys because of sitting out a game, because of being utilized a little bit less because of that. So in essence, he's kind of a little bit behind as a running back this year, which would make him look a little bit maybe not as impressive. And remember, we were all saying these same things about Tank in relation to Jarquez. Now we're doing it to Battie, not Sands, but in relation to Jarquez. Let's give everybody a little bit of time, right? Yeah, there's a lot of people excited for that Kentucky UGA matchup, and you should be. Corey thinks the Battie would be the top running back this year. He can definitely be. In my mind, he was well positioned to be like the top specialist. And I don't just mean a special teams player. Like, I mean, just that utility guy that will just kill you in any aspect of the game. Whether it's on special teams or offense, that a running back being utilized kind of as a slot wide receiver, like getting the ball to him out in the flats. You know, to me, his skill set is invaluable and very, very hard to defend because you underestimate him because of his size. I think he's listed at 5'7". And then you realize, hey, that speed's got a little, aggressiveness behind it too. So I love Brian Battie. I am so glad we picked up. And right now, when you talk about pickups that look the best this year, his is looking in that category as one of the best pickups of this year for Hugh Freeze in the transfer portal, because I think a lot of people, when they saw him picked up, were kind of like, you ever heard like it's called the golden retriever head turn? One of my favorite shows calls it that, where you're just like, huh? Or they, golden retrievers will just kind of turn their head to the side when they're confused by something. It was just an interesting move. We had Jarquez, you had DeMar, you had Jeremiah coming, you had Sean Jackson, you had even Jordan Ingram in the backfield there. You thought you were pretty well set. So why is this guy coming in? Well, you bring him in as an all-around guy, and heaven forbid something happen, and he's right there in the mix as a starting running back or as a high utilization running back. So it's been fun to watch. He's small, but he runs big. Who does that remind you of? Shiver Me Timbers. I know it was Shivers, but I always called him Shivers Me Timbers. I miss that dude so much. I think he had a little bit of success at Indiana when he left us. I do remember like a couple of highlights of him, but I don't know that he ever reached the level of hype that he had here at Auburn that he did, or at Indiana. I think I said that backwards. He didn't reach the hype level at Indiana that he did at Auburn, which is a shame. I think that guy I think the world of him. He will forever be enshrined for that Iron Bowl situation where he just ran somebody over. I mean, just ran somebody over. If you guys see me working in the background, I just realized I had posted a link incorrectly somewhere. So I was trying to see if I could get us set up a little bit properly for some of the people online. But T is twitchy for sure. Yeah, that's a good way to describe him. You still believe that Hunter is injured, possibly a sprained ankle. But see, we were saying the same things about Tank last year, and there was really no evidence of that from what I remember. To me, I think we're all just looking for an explanation that helps us make sense of the fact that Jarquez was the stud that we were saying that was better than Tank last year at times. And now that seems to be a little bit reversed. I think it's hard sometimes for us just to accept the reality that he's just behind. While I'm sure that he was at the practices, learning the playbook and stuff like that, we don't know what the stipulations were for his suspension. We don't know if he couldn't been at the field for a certain amount of time, couldn't been in the facility for a certain amount of time. A lot of people speculated that when they saw him, I forget which Auburn running back it was, but running, I think, at Lee Scott with a running back as a trainer, former running back. Was it Brad Lester? It may have been. I can't remember. That something was wrong and that he was not allowed back. And it could have been the case. I think it was just speculation at that part, but we don't really know what was going on there. A lot of people talking about the A&M Bama game. You want Bama to beat down A&M and have us run the table to put us in the SEC championship at the end. So this is, Corey, this is one of those scenarios that I get a little iffy about, because there's the side of you that wants the best for Auburn, and that's the side that always wins out, in most situations, 99.99999%. But then there's this other side that just loves to see your greatest rival suffer. And that part for me wins out more than not. So would it make sense in Corey's scenario here, A&M, we have 2 SEC losses. For us to do anything at this point, we got to take care of our own business and have a lot of help, which means that somebody's got to give Texas A&M a loss, and because they've already lost to, wait a minute, did they lose to somebody else already? They lost to Miami. That's right. They would have to lose to another SEC team, but it has to start now. Duh. To me, there's just so much that has to go right for us, and we've got to even take our own business. I would much rather them just beat Alabama, frankly, especially since Texas A&M made us look so bad. Frankly, most of that was on us. What's interesting is the 2 teams that beat us didn't look all that great. Like Georgia looked fine, serviceable, but they didn't look like the Georgia that everybody thinks they are. Texas A&M was okay. How they didn't run away quicker with that game is beyond me. So to me, I am still going to root for Texas A&M to lay the wood to Alabama. Is it going to happen? Probably not. So you might get your wish, Corey. I just can't. I rooted for Alabama one time. I forget the game, but it was like 20 years ago or something like that. I can't believe that I'm saying like 20 years ago at this point in my life. And I remember rooting for them because if they had won a particular game, we got a better bowl game. And they couldn't even do that. Couldn't even manage or muster that. It was very frustrating. So I've never done it again. Neil, this is not a bad point. UGA without Brock Bowers is subpar. I think it goes a little bit deeper than that. You got to give a little bit of credit to McConkey, their running back. Edwards was pretty decent too. Their offensive line, pretty good too. But you cannot ignore what Brock Bowers did. I mean, I'll just go ahead and say it. Brock Bowers is our daddy, and I'm just going to say it. Like, I'm sorry, it is. I hate it. I hate admitting it, but 2 times in Jordan-Hare, he's just gone off. Brock Bowers is our daddy. Clip that. Send it over. You can send it over to Randy, the Georgia guy we had on, and just let him do what he wants with that. The stats and the facts back it up. Georgia doesn't win that game without Brock Bowers. They were in a world of hurt without Brock Bowers doing what he did. He's a grown man, and he's our daddy. I'm just going to say it. Do we flip another Bama recruit? The linebacker, forgot the name. I can't remember his name either. I saw some commentary around that. Yeah, maybe. Maybe. I'm not getting my really hopes up. We have done this year already what some, at least in this current age of Auburn recruiting, deemed impossible. Flipping a Georgia and an Alabama commit. That's pretty incredible. At some point you're asking for too much, and then you ask the question, when did the wheels fall off? So I'm just thankful we've gotten what we got. It's fun to speculate. Unless I start hearing some serious discussion about it, I'm just not putting a lot of stock in it. But it is interesting that recruiting, other than having a bunch of recruits in this week, has really slowed down. It was kind of after the TJ Lindsey, DeAndre Carter commits, those last big ones that were kind of the big cat weekend carryovers, that a lot of that slowed down. I don't know where our next commit is going to come from. Maybe it is a flip. Maybe it is a flip from somewhere else. KJ Bolden kind of turned some heads and said that he'd be back for the Iron Bowl, and that they showed out for him in terms of the atmosphere and all that stuff. So we shall see. He's done it once. He's done it twice. Maybe he can do it a third time. Fourth time? Again, we're asking too much. If Simpson was covering Bowers, it may have been a different story. There were a few times that Brock Bowers came over into his area and still he caught the ball. Jalen Simpson is balling out this year. If he keeps this up, he will play himself into the first round, into the second round high, may push for the first round if he continues this pace. So he's got 4 interceptions through 5 games. I'll make a prediction here. If Jalen Simpson gets 9 interceptions on the year and continues showing that he can do other things, make great tackles in the open field, make solid tackle, like he's made some shoestring tackles to keep plays from going further, just some solid hits, be a great defender, just not just in intercepting the ball, but obviously knocking the ball out on some very good throws from quarterbacks, and be maybe a little bit of a threat to come up on the safety blitz if they ever do that. He'll find himself in day 1 of the draft. It'd be fun to see. Simpson is Carlos Rogers 2.0. Well, Carlos was a cornerback, and that's what Jalen used to be. Jalen used to be a cornerback. He is now a safety for us, which is interesting. I think even on the roster online, at least the beginning of the season, he was still listed as a cornerback, but he plays safety for us. It's interesting seeing how sometimes a player makes a change, a shift, and before you know it, they're just like, it's like a light bulb goes off. And Jalen was great before that. He had a really great entry into this Auburn program where he started turning a lot of heads, had that injury. And then it takes people some time sometimes to come back from injury. I'll point you to a different sport, that being Alan Flanagan. Took him a little while to get things going, to figure it out, to, try to get a little bit of momentum going in the right direction, get your footing back, literally sometimes, if that injury is a foot. But either way, I think he is just doing outstanding things in terms of making a name for himself for the draft, for otherwise. And if Brock Bowers was going to be stopped by somebody, it would have been Jalen Simpson, but I think he had a few shots at it. The Iron Bowl should be cray-cray this year. Fingers crossed. Well, it'll be cray-cray in terms of atmosphere, hype, fans just being ridiculous. It's the 10-year anniversary of the Kick Six. If Chris Davis does not run out on that field as the honorary mic man, or if they don't have a special video, I mean, they've already made the video with him in it, but do something extra special for that. The media team for Auburn is missing the opportunity. I'm basically printing money for you by mentioning this. Chris Davis needs to be on that field in some way. Maybe we can suit him up. Does he got any eligibility left? I would imagine his speed's a little bit gone, 10 years removed, because I don't know that he's been playing. Actually, he was playing in like the XFL recently, I think. One of those new leagues. Well, not new anymore. But it will be cray-cray. Hopefully the result is cray-cray too. That'll be a nice cap onto a year. If Hugh Freeze can should get a win against New Mexico State, and then finish off with an Iron Bowl upset, because it will be an upset at this point based on how we are performing and Bama's performing. That's a nice end to the Hugh Freeze regular season and puts you maybe in a surprisingly good bowl if you play your cards right. Because here's the thing that Auburn has in its favor, no matter when, sorry, I pulled all those up. No matter what year, if they're bowl eligible, the bowl games are all about making what? Money. And how do you make money? TV ratings is the big thing, but they want the people to come to the games, to spend money in the community at the game, not just tickets, but concessions and souvenirs and all that stuff. Auburn fans give you that tenfold every time, not just in TV viewership, ad money there, but in advertisements, refreshments, souvenirs, ticket sales alone. They come in droves to support their Auburn Tigers. So if that team looks like it's got life at the end of the year and has a nice little run like that, even if it's sitting at like an 8-4, 7, hopefully it's not a 7-5 at that point, you'd be surprised what type of bowl they might find themselves in. And there may be a little bit of ruffled feathers of how did an 8-4 Auburn team get that bowl? Well, because we travel well. It's just how it is, folks. If you want to get the good things, show up. Not at halftime, not after halftime. Show up. Corey said that Batee reminds me of Ontario more than anyone. That's not a bad comparison. I have no qualms with that. I like that comparison. It's got a little bit of he's got a little bit more meat maybe than Batee does. Excuse me, than McCaleb, if I remember correctly. He always just seemed so skinny to me. Not a bad overall comparison though. I'll take that and run with it. What else is on y'all's minds tonight? Still plenty of things to talk about, to break down. If you want to call in, please do. We'd love to hear from any and everyone tonight. Big Simp, that touchdown that Bowers caught across the middle took off the steam, full steam ahead. No one was trying to get in front of that train. They made a business decision not to get hurt and ran over. I don't know that a business decision was made, but at some point you realize that this is a losing battle and you're not going to catch him. The train analogy is very good because he's not small. He and Brian Batee would not be in the same weight class. So when that momentum gets going, it is a hard train to stop. It is a hard train to stop. If Auburn beats Alabama, I guess you mean Hugh Freeze, he will tie Gus for 3 wins as head coach against Alabama. Well, and he'll have done it with 2 teams. And that's something that's never been, well, it's been done, but not been done all that much, as you just said. You know, the interesting thing for me with all that we've gone through the last 3 years, when not going to hash it again, but obviously we'll still maintain we did not make the right choice by firing Gus Malzahn when we did. We can have a discussion about should it have come eventually, but when we did, one of my stipulations, if you'll think back, that's kind of when this channel really got going too, or during that time when Gus was fired. My big stipulations was You got to have proven to beat Alabama. And some people call that short-sighted and just super focused on the rivalry. Sure, whatever. I don't care. You can have your own opinions. But at the time, and to some degree still, they're the gold standard. They're your biggest rival, your biggest competitor for recruits. Why would you not find someone that's got a history of beating the dude? It's that simple. So we've done that now with Hugh Freeze, someone who has beaten Saban multiple times, someone that has shown an ability to go toe-to-toe with him and not blink on all fronts. So it took us a little while to get there. Will it be the thing that we should have done 2 years ago or whatever? Maybe. We shall see. Back to the Under Armour topic. Speaking of Under Armour, I know it was a while ago. Did we ever talk about the basketball team's new threads? I love them. Yeah, I don't know that we ever discussed them, and I don't have them like on hand to look at them right now, but I remember there was quite a bit of buzz about them when they revealed them on social media. You know, I'm going to be honest. I don't really get all that jazzed up about new uniforms. I know that's the boring topic. It's part of the reason why. I think it's because I'm so settled and convinced that you can't, and we're talking about football mainly, but that you can't do a better color scheme, patterns, fonts than what Auburn has. My orange and blue glasses are on, I know. But I still am going to say it. So to me, it can't get much better than that. So when you change things up, I'm almost kind of like grumpy old man, just do the old things. But if it makes the players happy, it makes me happy. Tie with 3 wins again. Is that not what we said? I thought that's what we were talking about. Did we say it wrong? Or did you say it wrong? But yeah, that's the funny thing about bye weeks, kind of going back to the Under Armour topic. You see all these things crop up about during this week, and a lot of that is pushed by the media outlets because they don't want you to lose your head of steam for coverage and stuff like that. And so you got to have those things ready. So drumming up stuff about, I'm not saying that's where the whole Under Armour discussion happened, but it just never shocks me that when we get to the bye week, somehow like topics like Under Armour come back up or apparel. Somehow the discussion of will the Georgia rivalry continue comes up. Somehow there's a drumming up of some scandal or something like that, or somebody said something. Like it just always gets stirred up during this time because we're bored. You think we'd take the time to just enjoy watching football and not have to sit here and worry nonstop about our team. I hate it as much as the next. I remember when back in my youth, I dreaded the bye week with a passion because I was getting my fix every week of Auburn football, no matter how the team was doing. And, every time the bye week came around, it just sucked. It absolutely sucked. So I hated it. I get it. But we also need to take the time to enjoy it. Random discussion here. We kind of brought it up on the Auburn Experience show. Does anybody have any opinions about the tip-off at Toomer's event that I'm guessing is not going to happen this year because there's been no communication about it from my knowledge? And normally you would do it about this time. If you don't know what the tip-off at Toomer's event, it's meant to be what's been done by a lot of teams in the past, a version of Midnight Madness. It's kind of like the official, unofficial kickoff to basketball season. And most people will do it in the gym. They'll have like a pep rally. They might have a game, something like that. We put a basketball court at Toomer's Corner. I loved that. That got me really excited, but they always did it on a non-football weekend. So it was tough to get like big crowds to come there, although the crowds were really large. Does anybody want them to do that again in the future? I think some of the challenges that came up with that event was obviously weather, logistics of closing down the venue or the streets and all that kind of stuff, and I'm sure all kinds of other things we're not even thinking about. But to me, it seems a shame that we haven't kept up the whole Midnight Madness, something like that. Tip off at Toomers, I would love to see it return. I enjoyed the heck out of that the 2 times that they pulled it off, because I think they tried to do it a third time. They did it the one time. I think the second one got canceled, and the third time went off, but they couldn't do the dunk contest, which is what everybody was looking forward to because of the slickness out there on the courts, which we're thankful for they didn't. Either way, I would love to see it return in some capacity. I imagine some other people feel the same way. So if you got any opinions, let us know. What else? What else is on y'all's minds? The phone lines are open. Please call in if you'd like to. We'd love to hear some of your voices, smiling faces. Those of you that have been here for a long time have never done so. I'm curious. Let me have a little bit of transparency here, and just be honest, if you will. I know maybe you don't want to comment on it, but I'm really curious what keeps some of y'all from calling in. Is it just you don't want to? Is it because I'm intimidated? I'm just curious. I really am. Because you guys are such a great audience, and some of y'all, all of y'all, but I mean, there's a really big handful of y'all that are very loyal, that are here every time we do something. I'd love to hear your voices or see your faces on here. So what is it? Let me know. If it's like me hiding off camera while we're talking, I don't know. Me letting you just have the floor, that would be dangerous. That would be absolutely dangerous if I did that. Could probably get shut down if somebody wasn't behaving themselves. Either way, it was just something I was thinking about the other day. I was like, what's keeping them from pulling the trigger? But it's there if you want to. Neil says, I promise I'll muster up the courage to call in, Kyle. No courage required. I'm just a dude in front of a microphone. And that's one of the things that someone posted on a video. I think it was the Tiger Walk video, asked if I was in section whatever. That sounds like it was me that they saw. And I'm like, come up, say hello. Want to talk football, you know? So I encourage that. So please do. What tourney are we starting off with in basketball? We're not starting off with are you asking like, let me look it up here. I mean, we're going to the Maui Invitational, but we're not, let's see here. Oh, there was a scrimmage. Yeah, there was a scrimmage. I see that on one of the sites here. Hang on one second. They said there was a bad news thing. Okay, maybe that was like being facetious. Sorry, I was doing something on the fly here. All right, our schedule coming up. We will play Baylor in South Dakota, Southeastern Louisiana, and then we're going to the Legends Classic. It is not a tournament. Technically, it is, I guess, because you're going to play Notre Dame to start off with, and then the winner of Oklahoma State, St. Bonaventure. To me, this falls more in the category of a showcase where there is kind of a tournament style with it. So the Legends Classic, and I was wrong. We're not going to Maui Invitational this year. It's next year. I had that wrong. Can you tell I'm excited about the Maui Invitational? But we have got a stout schedule. Baylor, Notre Dame, probably going to be Oklahoma State, I would assume that we play. Virginia Tech at home. Going to App State, Indiana in Atlanta. I got to get tickets for that. USC at home. And then some of these smaller programs, Penn, Chattanooga, UNC Asheville, every once in a while, they'll sneak up on you and be good programs. And Bruce has a history of scheduling those big ones. So you just never know, right? Yes. Thank you, Devin, for vouching. I actually have been on the other side of this, and I understand there is like a weird, terrifying element to it. And I don't know why that is either, because I've felt it too. But please do. Please do. Big Simp reminds us that he's at work, and that's why he can't call it. You should risk it for the biscuit one time, Big Simp. Just say, hey, man, I'm checking in. And that's it. Do it. Do it. Do it. Do it. Some of y'all will get that reference. Big Simp also says, best recruiting pitch for Auburn. Charles said, you just have to go there. It's special. That's what the last part of your comment was. I agree. The fun phrase, the easy way of saying that is Auburn sells itself, and it does. Whether it's the way it looks, the campus architecture, the landscaping, the rolling plains of Dixie, neath the sun-kissed sky, proudly stands our alma mater banners high. Sorry. To thy name we sing thy praise. Y'all brought it out in me. There you go. Do it. Do it. But that sells itself. The community does. The fan base does. Facilities now, football especially, are up there amongst the best of the nation, if not the best. And there is becoming less and less reasons not to consider Auburn. To not consider Auburn if you are a major recruit, it's got to be a couple things. That the distance is just too long for you and your family, which is 100% understandable. But then I will submit to you DeAndre Carter, who just committed from California. That was weird, right? Very thankful for it. It's got to be you have a growing up affinity for a school that's not favorable towards Auburn. Georgia, Alabama, LSU, maybe some other schools that you just don't like us. Maybe it's academics, that we don't have the best program that you could get for somebody in a particular field. Find that hard to believe. And sure, is there going to be a law school better than us? I don't even know if we have a law school, actually. I don't think we do. Yeah, but still, you're going to have reasons like that. It's not because of the sports, the fan base, the support, the NIL, all that stuff. All of that's in place. Auburn sells itself. And sometimes it's just the feeling that people get. You got to have that feeling, and when people arrive, they tend to get it. So, agree with you. It was a great statement by Charles. One of the few times that Charles does not put his foot in his mouth and alienate half the fan base. I love Charles Barkley to death. I think he is one of the best ambassadors that we have. He can also be one of the worst ambassadors that we have at times when he chooses to open his mouth about things that I don't. Everybody's entitled to their opinion, but I think sometimes he goes a little too far. Which I remember reading a book about Charles Barkley as a kid. So there were these series of, I don't know if you guys had this. It was called an accelerated reader program when I was in elementary school. If you read the books, you took a test on it, you got the points, and you could add up to like a pizza party or something like that. Well, I found this series of books all about like these sports greats. There's one about Bo Jackson. There was one about, it was non-Auburn people, Cal Ripken Jr., Barry Bonds, you name it. It was all people that were like relevantly relevant at the time. And Charles was one of those. And I remember reading the book and just even as a kid going, this guy, why is he this way? I love him now. I mean, I love him as an adult. I think he's a great ambassador for us. I'm knocking things left and right off. But sometimes he does go a little too far with that commentary. I'm sure I do too. It is what it is. All right, we're at 53 minutes. If you are wanting to get your comment, your topic, your question in, now's the time to do it. Do not hesitate. We will be getting out of here shortly. So please do let us know what is on your mind. Would love to hear from you. If you want to call in, the phone line will stay open for just a little bit. In the meantime, let's talk about what you need to know. First of all, our next scheduled live stream is this Sunday evening, 9 Eastern time, episode 53 of the Auburn Experience podcast, Sports Culture Family. All of the above on that show with me and Austin Scott. Don't miss it. Love the live portion of the show with you. Sometimes you get little extra things in there. We talk a little bit before and after. It's kind of like a mini Wednesday night show. The two pillars of what we do here at YouTube are the Wednesday and the Sunday night shows. Are they the biggest draw shows out there? No, absolutely they're not. But that's why I love them personally. One day, maybe they will be big draws again. They were at one point. It's kind of hard to in the space of YouTube these days, as we're very much crowded now. But those will always be here as far as I can tell into the future, because they are nice benchmarks. There's content, and we will be going live. Check out those links in the description here on YouTube, especially on Facebook and other places. You'll have to come over there, or if you're interested in helping us out, you can hit some of the links. There's PayPal. You can be a Patreon member. You can be a YouTube channel member. You can donate. I already brought that one up. You can buy one of our t-shirts. All those things are in the links description. Please link descriptions. Description links. Kyle. Do that if you can. And of course, the easiest thing you can do, smash the like button and be here with us, hang out with us, and be part of our little family within the Auburn family. John says, WDE family, have a nice bye week. Got a few minutes here. I'm not heading out just yet, but you can go ahead and sit in the sentiments if you'd like. What are you all going to be doing on your bye week? What's on tap for you this Saturday? Is anybody traveling? Is anybody just taking it easy? For me personally, we have had a lot going on behind the scenes, and it couldn't have lined up any better. We very much needed a weekend to be home and just chill. Couldn't have come at a better time. So I'm looking forward to that. I am looking forward to not having to run around on campus as much as I love doing that. I am looking forward to having football to watch that I'm not overly invested in, but just invested just enough. I've got house projects I'm going to be needing it done. The fall weather up where I am is coming this weekend. I think it's going to be high 40s overnight, one of the nights, and then mid 70s. So it is going to be a great weekend for me personally. Pulling for the Aggies, Kentucky. I'm going to start praying. Yeah, look, I am very much in that camp as well. I think the best game is going to be that Kentucky-Georgia game. I hope it doesn't disappoint, because really Florida is not going to give Georgia. Oh, that's already that's already happened, right? No, it hasn't. Yeah, because they got to do their cocktail party thing. I'm trying to remember. South Carolina gave Georgia fits for a little bit. So there's really not anybody else that Georgia's going to have a hard time with, to be frank. What's Georgia's schedule real quick? UJ football schedule. All right, let's look at this, folks. Vanderbilt after Kentucky. That'll be a win. Oh, Florida. I think it is more guaranteed. I know Florida had that bounce back, but gosh, they look horrible most of the time. Florida will be an easier win than Vanderbilt. Take that to the bank. Missouri looks a little bit better than people gave them credit for, so that could be interesting, but it's in Athens. The Tennessee game could be interesting. Ole Miss game could be interesting. There's a lot of could be interestings, but to me, the only one left on their schedule, Georgia Tech's at the end of the year. The only one left on their schedule that really presents a high risk to them is this one right here. We were it, and you saw why. But Georgia, Kentucky, I hope is going to live up to the billing and be a great game. All right, we have talked about bye week stuff, what you're going to be doing. We talked about some of the news that's been circulating, whether it be Under Armour, injuries, things of that nature. We talked a little bit of basketball tonight, which I love that crops up about this time of year during the bye week. I'm getting ready to start doing some more maybe basketball content on here as we gear up, maybe like a preview show or something like that. I say that a lot. I know it's been a busy time, but we shall see if I can get around to that. Neil says I could see Ole Miss beating Georgia. I could see Ole Miss beating anybody they want to. I could also see Ole Miss losing to anybody that they want to. That's just really how it is. And then, of course, the Braves. I'm a big Braves fan as well. Playoff games this weekend. So this is a great sports weekend for Auburn fans, even though Auburn's not playing. high value, low stress, just the way you want it. They have Tennessee too, tougher than Kentucky. Here's what I'll say. I can't remember. I pulled down the schedule. If Tennessee is at Tennessee this year, yes. If the Kentucky game were at Kentucky, Georgia on upset alert. Look at all these great points about this great weekend. All right, we're at an hour. Thank y'all so much for being here, hanging out with us, being part of our little family within the Auburn family. Make sure you smash that like button on the way out if you haven't. Always appreciate you guys, our little small group of individuals that hang out with us. And those of you that are maybe new, hope you'll stick around, hang out with us some more. But again, as I always say, you continue and are the best little family within the Auburn family. Until I talk to you again, War Eagle.